All right, everybody, welcome back to Dig Within. Today, I'm really excited to bring this gentleman to you. I've listened to him a couple times. I think I first heard him on Owen Benjamin's stream, heard him on Croak a bunch of times, and recently on a good friend of the show, Pat Daly at the Pat Life podcast. And I'm really excited to get this guy in front of you guys. It is Flat Earth David Weiss. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, Rob. Thanks for having me. And I feel honored. I was looking at your channel. You've had some legends on. You've had Benjamin Balderson. You had Amanda Vollmer. You had Crow and Jason. You had Tom Burnett. I mean, I'm like, look at this channel. Look at you. You're going in the big leagues. Now you have me on. I don't know if I rank with those guys, but maybe I do. Who knows? But
well, now I think I'm knocking it right out of the park here too. I've been incredibly blessed, and I was really excited to be reached out to by your team there. And I got to be honest with you, man. This might be one of the most, I don't want to say nerve-wracking, but it's one of those ones where you put this information out, and there's kind of no going back. So it's one of those ones where I'm like, man, this is kind of like.
So you're not 100% out as a flat earther yet?
Well, here's the thing, man. It's one of those things where we'll never know, but like there's so like the work that you have done.
Wait, you could say, I don't think we'll ever know exactly what this world is, but we do know it's not a spinning ball flying through an infinite space vacuum. That's a fact.
That's the thing. The work that you've done, and just I really hopefully we can get you into like sharing your screen here, because I love when you break these things down, because it's one of those things, man, where once you actually start going down the logic route of a lot of these things and stop thinking about all the programming that you had, and this is just what we're told and all that kind of stuff, it's really like, man, it's one of those things where I can see where a lot of people do not want to. I have someone who's very close to me, he's going to listen to this, and he's like, he says it's one of those things where he doesn't even want to look at it to a certain degree. He's like, I can't handle it right now. He's still getting over the not getting over, but still wrapping his head around the COVID stuff. But you know what I mean?
Wow. So as Crow says, belief is the enemy of knowing. And I like to add to that ego is the protector of belief, right? And so we have this deep down belief from childhood, from before we could talk. The ball programming starts, before we can even speak. And that's what our whole world is based around. Like are your parents living?
Yeah.
Can I ask? All right. So your parents are living. Your whole world is based around the world that they created for you. But if I told you, hey, when you're sleeping at night, your parents go out and eat babies. All right. You're not going to even want to look at that. You're not going to believe me. You'll probably refuse to even look because it's the most absurd thing you ever do. But what if it was true? All right. So here's the thing. People don't want their entire worldview shaken. We build this world around us, and that's our belief system. Like when I go outside, I have no fear of a leopard eating me because I believe that there's no leopards in Connecticut. Okay. But that's my belief system, right? And I kind of have some knowledge behind it, but we build this world. And then when you say, everything the government's told you is a lie, everything your teachers taught you is a lie, your teachers probably weren't lying because they're just indoctrinated, and you're not even on a spinning ball. Your whole world is not what you were told, and everything that you've grown up loving, Star Wars, Star Trek, all that stuff is nonsense. And it's the ego then comes in and goes, no, this is too painful. I can't deal with it. And that's what's going on with your friend.
Right. Yeah. And I think some of the things that I mentioned from some of the work that you've done, and I'm just like, well, maybe think about this. And one of the classic ones, we go fishing every year, and you get dead straits of just ocean water for a very, very long time, and I just go, how far away do you think that is? And they go, oh, maybe this amount of miles or whatever, and I go, do you know that shoreline right there technically should, you know what I mean? Just kind of poking at those kind of things. And I think they're like, okay, interesting. But they're like, I almost don't want to know because I don't want to dive into it kind of thing.
Yeah. So, one of the things that all the people that defend the globe, besides the anti-flat earthers out there that are out there with an agenda, they're programmed. And when you say, that should be under the curve, the program response is, no, the earth is way too big for you to see. You're an amoeba on top of a basketball, and we've all been programmed that. You knew exactly what I was saying when I said that, because that's all programming inside of us. But they want us to believe that we can see boats going over the horizon, but it's too big to see the curve. You gotta pick. Which one is it? And they don't realize that on a ball, there's a physical horizon. You're required to have a physical horizon. right? On a ball, I lost my props, but that's all right. On a ball, when something goes behind a ball, my fingernail's the boat, it disappears. That's a physical horizon. Zoom in, you still can't see my fingernail. But on a flat Earth, you have an optical horizon. That's where the sky meets the ground. And then when you zoom in on it, you can make it bigger and you can see farther until it comes together. So go out next time it's a really clear day, over water or up on a hill. Just watch. The horizon is where the sky meets the ground. That's the horizon, the limit of your eyes. And if you zoomed in, you could make it bigger and you can see farther. And so people don't realize, the horizon is optical. The horizon is not a place, because as soon as you start moving towards it, it moves. I think you have a better chance of getting to a rainbow than to the horizon. Because I think I've gotten in a rainbow. I think I've stood in a rainbow and had like the color on me. I think I have. Maybe I'm dreaming.
Well, maybe I was wondering, maybe we could back. The caveat maybe for this is that we got to potentially say this is one to definitely watch on YouTube because, or Odyssey and BitChute and all that kind of stuff, because hopefully we're going to do a lot of visuals today. And, we can, it's one where it's kind of hard to wrap your head around just speaking about these things. You kind of have to see the evidence itself. So just a caveat if you're listening to this on Spotify or podcasts and stuff like that. But I was curious with your, why, I was just saying, when I originally was hearing about this, it was through Owen Benjamin. He was going on about the moon landing and this, that, and the other thing. And although I loved him because I was in the entertainment industry before this, and I was really inspired by what he was going through and, his resolve in to him. And I think something just and when he was going through this stuff, I was like, why? What's the point of me caring about this? Why do I have to care? I don't understand what the purpose of this is. So I was wondering if you maybe go over what were you doing before this? Why did you look into this? And why have you made this change to do this for, this is what you kind of do now? Why
this is what I do now. And let's get into that, because that's a good topic, because a lot of people are freaking out about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And everyone goes through the stage where we grow up and flat Earth is the dumbest thing ever. That's what we've been programmed. We've been programmed to think that the Earth is a pancake Earth, right? Pancake Earth, in a heliocentric system. This is what people that haven't done any research think flat Earth is, where all the other planets are round and we're the third rock from the sun, but we're a disk. Okay, that's what they think flat Earth is, which is the dumbest crap ever, of course, right? And then when they, then they're like, well, flat Earthers are stupid. Look at Mad Mike Hughes, right? He tried to jump to see, prove the Earth is round, but that's not true at all. Anybody that's researched flat Earth has come across Mike. Mike was a Evel Knievel stuntman that wanted to win the record for a steam-powered rocket jump, didn't have enough money, and some flat earthers said, hey, we'll raise the money for you if you put research flat Earth on your rocket. So the news media ran with it, that the guy's trying to prove that the Earth is flat by jumping 1,800 feet in the air. 1,800 feet, okay? That's the dumbest thing ever, but every news article, every newspaper, everywhere, worldwide, and they're still publishing it. They're still using it. See, if you Google Flat Earth right now on YouTube, one of the top hits is this piece on CNN about Kelly Wheel's book called Beyond the Curve, and the guy John Avalon interviews her, and he talks about, he goes, flat earthers of the Flat Earth Society and an International Flat Earth Research or whatever, that's not us. Those are all controlled opposition, right? And they shows the disk floating in space. This is all, to get people away from, understanding what it is. So I'm trying to remember my point. My point was, so then people say, all right, what about boats over the horizon, right? What about sunsets? What about, Aristophanes figured it out, right? Then you bring it up to them. You show them how absolutely ridiculous the heliocentric model is, where you ask them, you say, do you know how fast we're spinning? The circumference of the Earth, the radius of the Earth, how fast we're orbiting the sun, how fast we're chasing the sun. They don't know any of these speeds, and they're all unfathomable, impossible speeds, if you ask me. And then if they're a smart person, they'll realize they've got nothing, and they'll go, well, why would they lie? I still have to go to work. And when they get to that stage, that's good. That's actually a step forward. Why would they lie? And the answer is, and let me back it up a little bit. I worked in corporate America. I left corporate America, started my own company with a couple partners. Super successful. Everything. And by the way, name, I can say the name now because the company I used to work for is gone. Mercury Solar Systems. Is that a joke? Is that like, that's what I work for? Mercury Solar Systems. So that was, I just realized that yesterday. I'm like, that's kind of connected to this whole friggin' thing. Solar as in solar power, not like, not like the helio nonsensical BS model. So I did that, and I was doing a podcast. Everyone, you've heard the story a million times. A conspiracy podcast. People started sending me flat Earth stuff, and I wouldn't even watch it because I had that. I'm like, get out of here. I'm into conspiracies, but that's just one step too far, and I'm not wasting my time with that nonsense. But then finally, Sophia Smallstorm mentioned something, and I was like, not you too, Sophia. What is up with this? And I said, I'm going to prove the globe and disprove flat Earth. That's it. It's easy. And that's how you become a flat earther. So I did it. I was doing it for a while. And then I just realized that this world is completely screwed up. I mean, with what's going on in the world right now. And I'm like, how did the world get into this state? And the answer is people think they're here. They're spinning out of control, lost in a godless universe. And they think that, an asteroid's going to take them out and nuclear bombs are going to take them out and we're running out of food, we're running out of water. All of this stuff is lies. All of it is absolute, total lies. And I realized that if people don't get their heads out of their asses and put their feet back on the ground and figure out where they are, we don't have a future. And one day I was thinking hard about it. I asked God for some signs, and I wasn't even that, I'm not religious in any way. And man, did I get some signs. And then I realized I had the app, about my app, and the app was making a little bit of money. And I went to pay my bills that day, and my app literally just covered my bills like down to the dollar. Okay. I'm like, wow, paid every bill with that app money. I'm like, all right, if I left what I'm doing, followed my passion, this is not a job. I friggin' love this. And I left a lot of money on the table. Okay. I left a lot of money on the table. And the timing was just literally unbelievable. And I said, if I did that, I could probably sell some more apps and I could live off of that. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it because not for the money. Absolutely not for the money. But guess what? The money's coming. Okay, the money's coming. The Friend Finder just hit 50,000 users the other day, and people are being connected, right? So people say, anyone, there's some, I don't want to mention any names, but some big flat earthers out there that go, anybody that's making money in flat earth is a shill, okay? That is the dumbest, mind-controlled psyop anybody could ever have implanted in their head. I'm following my passion. Question for you. Who am I hurting? I'm selling them a $3 app that they do not have to subscribe to. Who am I hurting? Am I hurting a homeless man if they bought my app? No. Okay. Am I hurting somebody that's in debt or somebody that's a millionaire? No. It's a $3 app. Gives them joy, gives them knowledge, gives them the ability to wake up other people because of the censorship that we're having. It's really hard to find flat earth stuff. Now, yeah, you can point people to a couple websites here and there, but people don't go to websites. But what people do is they hold this in their hand all day long. Okay? And when they have access to that and, they're like, all right, when my friend says, hey, there's this Bitcoin challenge, 3 Bitcoins for 1 proof of the globe. Let me watch that daily video, right? And when they watch the video, they're like, wow, that's interesting. Now they become a flat earther. That's a great thing. And we're growing. So the reason I do this, long answer, probably one of the longest answers I've ever given, is because if we don't wake up, we're all screwed. And this world is going into a long period of deep slavery. We're already in slavery. We have the opportunity to get out. And the last thing I want to say about that is we don't need to wait for someone to save us. If you wait for someone to save you, you're unsavable. Okay. You need to do something. Do something. Follow your passion. Do something. Because like if someone's drowning, like let's say there's a whole bunch of people in the water and they're drowning and a couple people are trying to save themselves, and a couple people are just like, I'm going to drown. You're not going to be able to save those people. You're going to go and grab one of the people that's trying to go. And as you're swimming, they might grab another person. They might grab another person. And you all save each other. So we all work together to save each other. That's what this is. Divide and conquer. They're dividing us by countries, by pro-war, not war, vaxxed, unvaxxed, political parties, sports teams. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. It's insanity, the divisions. Dividing us by genders, right? They're in full depopulation mode. If you haven't noticed, I'm sure you have. And because they need to thin the herd, because the herd's starting to think. The herd's starting to realize it's only the shepherd and that freaking dog. They can't control us, right? And once we wake up, they're finished. No flat earther believes the nonsense that's going on in the world, where they're all awake. So flat earth is one of those things that grounds you, pun intended, brings you back to the center of creation, and lets you, gives you back your power. You're Neo at the end of the Matrix instead of the weak Neo plugged into the Matrix. The new name for the heliocentric system is the Matrix. It is literally a prison for your mind. If you believe anything about the heliocentric model, you're in a prison. Longest answer ever.
No, I love it. I love when you go on these little tirades, man, because it's so true. And I heard you say on a friend of the show, Matt Belair, a good friend as well. The purpose of being here is to not sell your soul, and it's
not lose control of your soul. Correct.
Yeah, and it's like everything has been constructed in these kind of ways to just slowly chip away at your own logical systems, and just totally override that with authoritarian I guess mindsets, right? Your appeals to authority, those logical fallacies. And for me, one of the things that I kind of really realized when through going through your kind of work was it has everything to do with what's going on. Because really, if you don't know where you are, you don't really know where you can go. And I heard recently on one of Crow's shows, I think he was interviewing Jervin or something like that. But he was basically saying like the three main questions are, who am I? Where am I? And either where can I go or what's my purpose here? What can I do? Right.
Welcome to flat earth. People say, Dave, with all the craziness going on in the world, why are you just talking about flat earth? One, I'm not just talking about flat earth, but two, flat earth is the doorway. I used to have exposing the big three. The New York event, the Connecticut school event, and the marathon event. Okay. And I figured, wow, those are so easy to see through when the evidence is shown. I show people the evidence and they're like, oh, wow, what? But then they go right back to sleep. They go right back to work and they don't care anymore. And they're like, well, that really doesn't bother me. I live in Ohio. I live in friggin' China. I live, but flat earth affects every person every day, everywhere, all the time without exception. Okay. And once you see that deception, all of a sudden you can see the other deceptions, right? Once you see flat earth, all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. They're lying to me about the foundation of the world that I live on. That means everything on that foundation that they've taught me is a lie.
Yeah, I went out to BC recently after hearing about one of the guys on Crow's show. They were building a house out in BC, and I was like, you know what? I'm not doing anything. It's crazy COVID times. I'm just going to go out there. So I went out there. The whole crew was bears, and it was wicked. It was an awesome time. And
was that Owen's place? Owen's house?
It wasn't Owen's house, but it was like everyone who went there, everyone who was employed there was on the Barataria Times and found out about the job because the guy Max threw it on there. So it was just like the coolest crew of people that you could ever possibly be with. But we were chatting one day at lunch, basically saying like, I think people don't want to look in this one because I don't think there's a bigger one than this. Like there isn't a bigger red pill than this one here because it's the foundation of all of them, right? I don't know if you agree with that, but like, is there a bigger thing to wrap your head around than
Yes, there is. But
oh yeah,
it all goes back to flat earth. Flat earth is the foundation of every conspiracy. Quick question, and I'll explain what I mean. All those bears are awake to flat earth, right?
Yeah.
So isn't that amazing? Were they awake before I woke Owen up?
I don't know. I can't speak for everyone else, but definitely not me either.
Yeah. I mean, and Owen was the best because, Mark Sargent actually texted me. He goes, "Hey, check this guy's stream out. He's talking about NASA." And so we got in there and we're jumping in the chat. We're like, dude, flat Earth. He's like, no, no, no. And everyone's like, check out DITRH, check out. And he finally agreed to have me on. And by the time he had me on, he was already a flat earther because he was just like, if you watch that stream, he's just like, Jesus Christ, like there's nothing to it. And then, just rant after rant after rant. He went like, I can't be a flat earther. I don't want to be a flat earth person, all the way to, fuck it. Earth is flat, and it's freeing. It's so freeing. Like, I wear a lot of logo, a lot of t-shirts. This is just legalized freedom. I think this is from a Conspiracy Music Guru. I'm not sure. And Flat Earth, I had little flat Earth ones, sometimes a map. Now I wear the one that's on the app. This is and we're going into summer, so I'm not gonna be able to do this. But this one, if we go into the shopping cart and we click on the left, this is Stefan from the Deftones, and it basically
really?
it's a sweatshirt. Oops, there we go. I got to fix that link. And it just says flat earther like this in giant letters like that. And it's fantastic. I wear it and most people just don't see it. NPCs, they just don't see it. Some people think, oh, that's very ironic, and then some people like flat earther, and then we have a conversation and it's phenomenal. And it's getting, it's to the point where we don't need to be shy anymore. It's too late for that. Now there's enough information out there, especially with behind the curve. What do you think about that? Flatten the curve, not behind the curve. That's the Netflix one. Flatten the curve. Did you watch it?
No, I don't believe so.
So on the app, very important film. And by the way, it's not perfect, and no film is. You hit the web button, and then this one right here. By the way, there's more stuff below it for the people that don't know that. You hit that, and up comes what I call my, it's a playlist of great videos. Behind the curve, flatten the curve, not behind the curve. That's the worst. Flatten the curve. It's a bunch of military whistleblowers talking about how they can target things too far, how they can fly too fast, all of this stuff. And basically, if you have somebody that's like, okay, I don't believe it, what do you got? If they're willing to watch an hour video, if they're willing to say, okay, I'll watch stuff for a week, give them this. If they're looking for other, if they're like not going to watch anything long, you can hit them up with, do I have it on here still? I think I took it off. Oh yeah, right over here. DITRH shorts. A lot of my short videos, they kind of suck people in, right? They're giving them little taste, and then they'll watch the longer stuff. But there's so many resources now to give anyone that's willing to listen, that has not even 2 brain cells, 1.5 brain cells, okay, will see it if they're willing to look and their ego isn't screaming at them, no, you're going to destroy my childhood.
Right. Yeah. I think one of the guys that I know, I don't want to out anyone on the kind of on live air, but even people that were thinking a certain way about the whole CV-19 kind of operation that was happening, once they were willing to kind of look at the other side, within an hour, they were like, oh, this is all the World Economic Forum stuff, and this is blah, 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 blah. And it was sort of like, yeah, once you're able to accept the information, you can assimilate it in no time at all. It's just wrapping your head around that. And I think what's happening in the world over the past 2 years has really opened up people's minds to even dive into this kind of conversation. Although I was kind of dabbling in it with Owen stuff a bit beforehand, but
let's on that C thing that you're just talking about. We don't want to say the words. Let's do a little math. Have you seen this? Have you seen this?
I don't think so.
7.8 billion people in the world. That's what they tell us. Do you believe it?
At this
Maybe.
point, probably not. Maybe.
Okay. I mean, it could. So there's so that in a year there's 31,536,000 seconds in a year. Okay, so let's say a V plant can make 1 V every second. Okay, well there's 5 companies. Okay, 5 V companies. So if they all made 1 per second, that's 157,680,000 in a year if they work 24/7, no holidays, no pee breaks, and the machine never breaks down. Well, let's say each one of those 5 companies had 5 manufacturing plants that work around the clock. That would be 788,400,000 in a year. Okay? We're 2 years into this. It would take 10 years just to manufacture enough for 1 dose for each person on the plane. I'll say planet because I don't believe the number, so I might as well put it on a fake object. Okay? They're already saying people got 2 and 3 and 4 is coming. Okay? They're lying about how many people are getting it, or how many people there are. Who knows? This is all lies. These are impossible numbers. Okay? Impossible. And that's just manufacturing. Then you got to deploy them. And then you got, and I'm sure when you're deploying, it's going out in bigger and bigger numbers and stuff. But there's no friggin' way. They made it absolute insanity to believe that.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes into the whole saline thing too. How many people are just getting that? And then you have the fight between, oh, is this actually hurting people? Well, I got it and everyone I know got it. Nothing happened. It's like, yeah, well, because, it probably was, whatever was in there that wasn't what they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So off of that, back to the real stuff.
Yeah. So I think we laid some good groundwork here, and I actually saw one of the ones I thought was fascinating because I think I first saw him from interviewing Frank Chester with the Chestahedron. I think it's called simulation. I have to check again, but he was a Walter Russell guy, and he was going off of that kind of idea. And you were on his show, and you were talking about, basically the Antarctic thing, how no one's gone from all the way around it, circumnavigating.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what can we, so now, just like how more and more people are getting back into just kind of questioning these things. And I think because of the current narrative that's going on. So if we've laid the groundwork as to why this is important, why someone should pay attention to this, why you pay attention to this, what then do you do to go forward to offer your best case and your best proof that what you're talking about is real, and what people think that the sort of the realm that we're in is not what it seems?
That's a great question. So, I mean, there's the basics. There's, we can see too far, right? On a ball, we're required a 6-foot tall person that's standing at the edge of calm water is required on the best of conditions to see a physical horizon at 3 miles away. There's a 6-foot drop. So I should not be able to see the surface of the water beyond 6 miles or 3 miles, but we can. It happens all the time. I mean, you're familiar with the black swan. Oops, there we go. I got to get rid of that. This is the black swan.
Just to lay the groundwork for that one there, you're talking about the mere fact of like what they're telling us is that the circumference of the Earth, divide that by how much drop should be each square mile, and it's 8 inches per square mile. Is that correct? 8 inches per mile squared. That only works for the first couple thousand miles. We don't need 1,000 miles. Nobody can see through the air 1,000 miles. So, the biggest argument the Globers have is it's a parabola. At 3,000, 4,000 miles, it gets way out of whack. We agree. It's absolutely accurate. Over 1,000 miles, but we'll say under 1,000 miles. We don't need it because you can't see 300 miles, okay, due to angular size and atmospheric density, right? But, at a foot off the ground, the horizon should be 1.22 miles away. And this is a foot off the ground, and we could see the water for dozens of miles behind us. There should be 59 feet of curvature at this rig, but there's not. There's also optical effects. Things get compressed. When you're looking into the distance, things get compressed. Like this hotel here, look at these balconies. They're getting tighter and tighter and tighter. They're all the same size. Look, there's like 3 squeezed in right there. And then the water, these waves in the foreground are hiding the lower part of the hotel. If it was calmer, you would see more of the hotel, but again, it also gets compressed. This hotel is so far out that you can't see it with your naked eye. You zoom in, you can see it, but a naked eye looking at it can't even see any of this hotel, top to bottom. Right? I got to get the video of this because it's an empty horizon. You zoom in, all of a sudden there's a hotel, but look, it's over the curve. Baloney, nonsense, right? It's like, look at my finger, can hide
half of my face, when in reality, it's much smaller. All right? That's the same thing with these waves.
So what's causing that compression then at the bottom?
Well, that's atmospheric compression. You're looking through atmosphere, and it's literally magnifying. It's blocking. You know, when you look into the distance, you know, the atmospheric density hides things, makes them lighter and lighter and lighter until they become sky. Let me see. When you're looking at let me see something. Here we go. So when you're watching a boat, for example, go away, as it goes away, so you can see that the water is beyond this boat. But as we zoom out, you won't be able to see this boat or this land. It just gets too small, right? And here's an example. This is a bay, and if you watch, this is a camera. Stationary camera, a non-tidal bay, and the beach and the buildings keep disappearing throughout the day. This is just atmospheric heat, humidity, water density, air density, and at times the entire buildings disappear. Like there, boom, it's already gone, right? And if you were there just for that, few moments, you're looking. This is over time. You'd be like, oh, it's over the curve, But then if you stayed there for 2 hours, which nobody does, and looked again and go, oh, well, there it is, this is just showing you what atmosphere can do to things in the distance.
So do you think it's because our technology is getting to the point where the fact that a camera that anyone can purchase now, it doesn't have to be astronomical, can just totally disprove these things, is like why this thing is whole unraveling for so many people?
At this point, Nikon on their P1000 should put a flat Earth map on it, because we've bought most of their cameras. We've literally probably pushed their stock up and everything. Nikon P1000 camera, very affordable. You can zoom out. I can sit here. I'm on Long Island Sound. I can zoom in on a beach 7 miles away and see people sitting there when I'm sitting right on the beach at the water's level myself. And at 7 miles, I forget the curvature should be. So the curvature formula would be 7 times 7 times 8 divided by 12, 32 feet of curvature, okay? 32 feet of curvature they should be hidden behind, but I can zoom in and I can see them.
Well, that one right there is kind of one of the ones where that should, for a person who values logic in their life, should look at that and go, that is not possible based on what you've been told. So either... what do you do with that information, right? That's why I think people won't look into that, because there's leave it mathematics, right? If you value that in your life, how do you reconcile that in your mind?
Well, the argument they'll say is that boat, you don't know how far away it is. You don't know. You were too high. They just make excuse after excuse. That's why we like the oil rigs, because we can plot how far they are and they don't move. And pieces of land. There's been hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of laser tests and mirror flashes and stuff. But if you look here in this video, if this land wasn't here, you would think it's the horizon of the Earth. But the horizon's really up here. This is what we call the mirror line. See, the boat is mirrored there, and the houses and everything is mirrored because it's reflecting. Now, if that wasn't there, it would be reflecting sky, and you would think that this is just... the edge of the ball Earth, which it's not. So there's in the app under if we go to let me show you. So whoops, there's my calculator.
You want to just give the name of that app for everyone?
It's called the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app. If you go to flatearthdave.com, because if you go to if you put in Flat Earth, it'll come up right up on Apple. But on Google Play, they're already pushing a fake one, same name, some of the same graphics, horrible app. If you get it, great. Just don't send me an email telling me my app sucks, because it's not mine. Make sure you get the one by Blue Water Bay. But if we hit the web button, what was the point I was going to make? We can see too far. Whoops. I'll show you this first. Down here, this is a new playlist I added, experiments. These are by a channel called Taboo Conspiracy. All these experiments, amazing videos. There's no way you can watch these videos and not come out and go, okay, either the Earth is 1,000 times bigger than they're telling us, or it's flat. Okay, And the idea that it's bigger than they're telling us still doesn't work, because if it was 1,000 times bigger, there'd still be curvature. There'd still be measurable curvature, and there isn't. If you hit the frequently asked questions, the question mark button, and you say ships over the horizon, this button right here, you hit that, and great videos that YouTube won't serve you. But the fourth one down is one of my favorites. It's called Mirror Line Horizon Empty Thea Princess. This girl in 11 minutes broke it down, a ship heading away, what was happening, how it was compressing, how it was mirroring. She might even the one that coined the frame, coined the term mirror line. But that video right there will teach you what they never taught you in school. There you go.
So, yeah, and I saw it on the app there. It had the Lost History of Flat Earth one, which is amazing. I remember watching that and just being totally mind blown. And it leads into all the stuff that Crow talks about too, and Howdy Mikowski with the World's Fairs and everything. And we're just
God,
yeah, like we're not told about our history and kind of.
Yeah. So the Lost History of Flat Earth. When that first came out, the first one was 5 hours long, and I was like, I don't have time for a 5-hour video. And I tell the story all the time. It was 11 o'clock one night. I was finishing up some stuff. Like, let me put this thing on. Next thing I know, I stopped doing what I was doing. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm so wired. I'm like, I cannot believe what I just saw. I literally watched it again the next day. It's just mind blowing. There's some questions about some of the stuff he says, but 99% of it is undeniable. And it's fantastic. But another, when you talk about the other thing is mud floods. This one is one of my favorite buttons. Bring food and water if you click that. And this is all about how all of our history is a lie and the World's Fairs. My favorite channel on there, the top one, is John Levy. He does these 20-minute videos every week. He talks real slow, like he's going to put you to sleep. Like if you play him at double time, it seems like regular time. But play him at regular time because you want it to last as long as possible. The stuff that they show there is it's undeniable. I mean, it's when you look at this, go, why didn't I ever see that? There's mud flooded buildings. There's Satarian buildings in every city, everywhere, right? I'm here in Connecticut. They're here. They're everywhere. Okay. And once you see it, you'll be like, how did I never see that before? How come I never thought about that? There's one on here. This is by Martin Leakey, the second one. It's called 69 Images from Flat Earth British. It's just 69 images. And you watch it, literally it brings tears to your eyes. You're like, how did I not see this? Okay. And figuring out what the civilization that was here before us, there was an advanced civilization far more advanced than we are now. 100 friggin' years ago. 100 years ago? Wasn't that the Wild West? Wild West is a friggin' story. Okay? There was maybe there was a Wild West that moved in to the whatever happened that got rid of the civilization that was here. Mud flood, some sort of cataclysm, man-made, God-made. I don't know. But watch those videos, subscribe to those channels, and quit your job because you're not going to have time to work.
Yeah, and I think one of the things on one of Crow's recent podcasts too, the guy was talking about, well, how is this the case? And you said about the Wild West. As soon as you understand all these different industries are working in tandem with each other, especially with what we're seeing right now over the past 2 years, you go, well, if you have Universal's logo showing you every day in front of every movie what it looks like over and over again, and you realize that the budget for NASA is the equivalent of all of entertainment, meaning DVD sales, Netflix sales, all production, all sales on, box office tickets, all that kind of stuff. Video games, which is already, if people don't know, that's way bigger than movies now. It's actually blowing out of the water, all of that. And I believe plus all of the music industry, you take all three of those, and that equals the budget of NASA every year.
63 or $65 million a day. Okay. Now, here's the thing about NASA's budget. NASA doesn't get that money. NASA probably needs maybe, I don't know, I think they can do what they do on 50 grand a day. Okay. But they're taking the money from us. NASA doesn't need the money. NASA's part of the control system. The control system's the one that makes the money. They don't need money. They just type digits into a computer and they could buy anything they want. Okay. It's about taking money from us. It's about us putting our energy Right, look at our money. It's, everyone, it's their God. People that are sleeping, money is their God. It's what they work for their whole life. And when you are willingly contributing to a satanic, nonsensical organization like NASA, you're giving your energy to them. Okay? And no, here's the thing in this world, and Crow talks about it. If you don't say no, you're saying yes. With the way this world works, if you don't say no, you're saying yes. Someone makes you an offer. Don't say no to the offer. Make a counter offer. Oh, you want me to stick that in my arm? Yeah, I'll do it when you show me that each ingredient on there has been tested, and it's shown to be safe and effective, and otherwise you can stick it up your own rear end. All right.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Show us here.
What's that?
What are you trying to show us here with the universal?
What I'm showing here is this is predictive programming. All of the movie companies have spinning globes, right? They had them before NASA went into space. How did they know what it looked like? And then when NASA came back, it happened to look just like Universal's logo from, I think, 1927. Okay? This is all just predictive programming. They're telling us. Good.
Well, yeah, and do you have any of those? I believe I've seen you throw a couple of those on where the images that they release based on what their pictures were also correlate to what these images are coming out. Like it's like they've changed the way that certain land masses look based on what whatever they want to put out that year or that decade or whatever. Like the actual shape of like Africa and different parts like that, they just change based on, I guess, whatever they want to put out, right?
I mean, they're changing it all the time. You look at, these are 9 images from NASA. They're all ridiculous. They're all paintings, right? It's absolute insanity. And people go, oh, well, they can't fake that. I mean, let me ask you a question. What's easier to paint? One of these, right? If you're an average painter, you think you can paint one of these? Something that looks as good as one of these? Okay. You think you could paint this? Do you think you could paint these wine glasses and the reflections in them and everything? Do you think you could paint that?
Me, if you gave me 16 lifetimes, maybe.
Do you think anybody can paint that to make it look as real as this?
Very, very few.
Yeah, well, this is a painting.
Right.
Okay? This is a painting. This isn't real. Okay? And they want you to believe that that they couldn't fake this. Look at this, right? Look at the size of some of these clouds, right? The whole thing is, how they tell the blue marble is made? They say that it's a satellite going around taking pictures, and they have to take it in strips, right? They take it in strips, and then they have to fill in there's a little gap, okay? This is the story, they say, right? I say, cool story, bro. But look. If it's 90 minutes before the next pass, how come these clouds still line up, right? How come this cloud still lined up between these two pictures?
And then wouldn't an argument be, well, we did that so that it looks congruent? And well, then you would have to use that same logic for the entire thing. You could have made the entire thing up.
They made the entire thing up, right? They don't even have that argument because they don't even want to address this. When we bring up stuff, they just ignore it because if they pay any more attention to it, it ruins their argument. One of our flat earthers went into Photoshop and made their own Earth, and I think they made it better than NASA. Okay, and they did it for free. So right. It's so ridiculous. Let me just jump forward on this and just show you the final product. The final product is.
Wow.
This is NASA. This is us. NASA always gives us, most of the time, a full Earth because they're not good at adding the Terminator line. Okay? Right?
Right.
Then people believe nonsense. And then, I mean, if you believe, just how do you have gases in an atmosphere adjacent to the vacuum of space? Right? Here's what I'm waiting. I should have pulled it out when I had the astronomers on. Do you know what this picture is? You should.
Some sort of gas giant. Yeah.
It's a nebula. It's a nursery for stars. This is what they tell us. It's where stars are born. Okay? It's so big that you can't even fathom. So, do you know what it's made of? It's made of gases and dust in space. Gases and dust in space. Okay? That's like, how do you have gas in a vacuum of space? And then the gases turn into stars. And then when it's done, it spits the stars out like a fucking gumball machine. Okay? And then the stars like travel to their spot in the frigging galaxy. I mean, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. And people just eat it up because the lie is so big that people's brains just short circuit and can't even think about, what this thing is. This is a friggin' painting.
So then, all right. Then addressing that, when you have people say how dumb flat Earth is, and they give you that picture of like the disc, the frisbee with the dome on it floating around in space, what's your response to that?
I'd say no flat earther believes that.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's what I'm trying to get at, because they sort of make this they make the counter argument such a straw man in their own mind that you go, yeah, but that's not what we're saying.
Yeah, so this is not. They're mixing models, the flat Earth model and the other one. So what I do is I kind of just run them through this. I say, on the ball, they tell us Antarctica is a continent at the bottom, right? But if you look online, how come there's only cartoons of Antarctica? There's no photos of Antarctica from space. That's weird, right? And so they tell us it's at the bottom of a ball. And they tell us it's the highest land on Earth. That's interesting. So then I bring them through, what happens when water, when it rains, water makes a puddle. And what holds that puddle there? What holds the puddle?
Edges of something.
The land that's higher than the puddle all the way around.
Yes.
What holds a lake, which is a bigger puddle?
Yeah, the shoreline of the Earth that's higher.
What if the shoreline was lower than the surface of the lake in one part?
It would fall off.
The water would just continue going. And it would go to another lower spot until it filled out and found its level and then had a container all the way around it. Large bodies of water at rest need a container. So our world pond, which is just a giant puddle, it surrounds all of the continents and islands with water, but all of the water is surrounded by its container. Happens to be the highest land on Earth, NASA tells us. Science tells us Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. It's not a continent at the bottom of the ball. It's the shoreline of our world. Okay? It's the shoreline of our world. And so it is the container of our world. But then you mean the ice wall, right? And this is what we're indoctrinated to think the ice wall is, or flat Earth is. This isn't even the ice wall. This is flat Earth. But this is reality. Antarctica is a plateau that's higher, way higher than the water surface, like 200 feet. And then as you go out, it turns into mountains. I think there's mountains all the way around that are higher than Mount Everest. Okay? Interesting. Why don't we learn about that in school?
Right. Yeah. And I think that's one of the interesting ones too, because whenever you hear flat Earth, you think of the top two pictures there, which are this ridiculous. There's no end of the Earth, whatever. But then I believe it was I think it was you that was in the first videos I saw, and I was like, okay, this makes sense, at least because you have to totally suspend everything you've ever thought, right? And allow yourself to integrate new knowledge into your being. It's
actually just allow yourself to actually think and question what you've been told and never shown any proof of. There's zero proof of the globe.
Right. And so I believe I've heard you say in a couple of different shows too, what you're saying is another problem with Antarctica is that you've never had, well, correct me if I'm wrong too. They greet you. If you try to go to Antarctica, several, I guess, the US or whatever sort of military personnel will greet you there and basically say, this is as far as you go, kind of thing. And no one's ever circumnavigated from one side to the other. And I remember you challenging someone to basically say, why don't we do that? Why don't we just go, have one start on one side, one start on the other, and just go around opposite sides of it, and you'll meet at the other side if we're on a globe.
Absolutely. And the problem is, it's 10,000. Google Earth says it's less than 10,000 miles around. They say 13,000 whatever, 2 airplanes fly around. Can't happen. Last person to do it was Captain Cook, and it took him 3.5 years, and he went over 60,000 miles. Okay, so what's up with that? You know, now people go, what about the sailboat race, the Antarctic sailboat race? These sailboats are going at like 60 or 60, even more north. They're far away from Antarctica, so they're making a smaller circle in reality on the flat Earth, but it's still bigger than the equator. But GPS tells them how far they've gone. So they're like, okay, we went this distance in this amount of time. Therefore, we were averaging 3 miles an hour. These sailboats with zero wind go faster than 3 miles an hour. Okay, these things go 20, 30 miles an hour. But they're not paying attention to that. It's like, hey, we did it. It took us this many days. We went this many miles according to GPS. So they went, 20,000 miles, whatever the circle was. Well, that's an average of 3 miles an hour. There's a problem with that. These boats, when they're tied to the dock, go faster than 3 miles an hour. Right. That's a joke. That's a joke.
And what about, so you were talking about Captain Cook there, and then you were talking about how there's a whole section on your app there too about ex-military personnel kind of speaking out against this. What are some of the things that those people are saying why we're wrong about this? And maybe the caveat of being pilots who are saying that they're trained in a certain way, not in regard. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Captain Cook went over 60,000 miles. It's because this is the way you circumnavigate Antarctica. Antarctica is in all directions. No matter, excuse me, no matter what way you point, you're pointing south. Did you know that?
Well, just from yourself, kind of teaching me the new ways, but yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So the military guys, they're just, and this isn't that new. It just was put together in a movie, and I think it was visually and well put together. They're saying that one of the guys that one of the weapons guys said that, and not one, many have said that they can light up another ship with a pencil-thin laser beam 100 miles away. 100 miles away on a globe Earth requires a mountain of water over a mile high between them. If you know how sonar works, sonar goes straight, it hits something, and it comes back underwater. So a submarine sitting on the bottom of the ocean can see another submarine over 100 miles away. There should be a mountain of dirt in between them, 6,000 plus feet high. So you have to believe that sonar goes over, hits the submarine, and then comes back, which is ridiculous. That alone should wake up anybody that has common sense. The problem is your ego goes, no, that can't do it because we live on a globe. That can't be right because we live on a globe. I don't care that we can see things too far because we live on a globe, so it can't be right. Okay? Water lays flat. Well, we live on a globe. There's just some flat water. Okay? Right? And that's the programming. Your programming is talking. And so I say, I'm going on another Australian radio show later today, a morning show. These guys are the worst, the dumbest. All right? Did you hear the one I did yesterday? Check out.
I've seen you on some other.
Check out my channel, DITRH. It's there. It's great. It's also in the app if you hit the interviews at the time of this recording. Dumbest guys ever. They're like, they're very nice. They're like, this is a harmless theory, unlike other ones, like people that say 9/11 wasn't real. I mean, these guys are so lost. And they thought they were going to make fun of me. And I only had like 6 minutes. So I steamrolled them, right? And today I get 15 minutes, so we'll see what happens with that one. But I'm like, the globe is the theory. I was like, just give me one. All science proves the Earth is a globe. All right, give me one piece of science. Well, science. No, science isn't science. Give me the science. Well, there's thousands of. Give me one. Give me one scientific experiment, one scientific proof that the Earth is a globe. There are none. No, it doesn't matter because the Earth is a globe. That's your programming talking. Okay? Good.
Well, and that's why I think people are more open to this information with what's happened over the past 2 years, because the same thing is happening with that narrative too, right? And you have people like Kaufman and Cowan coming out and saying, look, just like all those computer generated images you showed before us with the globe, that's the same thing with this current CV-19 images that we're seeing on the news.
Wait, I know that Andy is a flat earther. Okay, he is, but he's doing his very important work, which is part of this, right? Waking people up. Everyone's doing what they're doing. Like everyone. Here's another thing. I'm kind of going to go off subject a little bit, but there's different people doing different things, and that's good, because if everyone just put carrots in the soup, it's just going to be carrot soup. We need all sorts of information to get the whole thing. You know, you got Brian Staveley out there talking about the Mandela effect, right? Interesting stuff, right? This world is not what we're told. And then you got, Jaron does his flat earth stuff in his style. I do my style, right? And then we have Andy doing amazing work on the Covidius Maximus, okay? And then you have Crow and Jason, who cover all this stuff. They're bringing stuff. Crow and Jason, by the way, you had them on. And by the way, anyone listening to this that hasn't gone back and listened to the last 10 interviews you've done, there's amazing people on there. I got my whole playlist ready. You got to go back and check it out. You don't have enough views. You don't have enough views. Why isn't YouTube promoting you? I don't know why.
Yeah, exactly.
But the one thing I want to say about Crow 777 Radio, anybody that has college age kids, do not send them to college. Okay, get a group of kids, rent them a house like on the Cape somewhere really nice, right? Let them have a little job to make a little bit of money and have them study Crow. Like 3 episodes a week. That's easy. 2 hours a day for 3 days. Give me a break. And then have group discussions. At the end of 4 years, they are going to be smarter than any college. Well, comparing them to college graduate, like college graduates are just so indoctrinated, right? What did I learn in college that is helping me today? Zero. Okay. Nothing other than the social aspect of dealing with people and living with other people and getting to places on time. You can live in a house, get a job. You know what? You got something to do, but it's a really beautiful day and the sun is out and the wind is blowing. Go out and go kite surfing for the day. Study it later. It doesn't matter. Plug in your waterproof headphones while you're out there kite surfing or windsurfing or whatever it is you like to do, and listen while you have fun. That's how you learn. Okay? That's how you learn. And then take their money, take a quarter of the money that the college would have cost and invest in something, whatever. Crypto, in a house, whatever, right? That kid is so much better off. College was good when, well, supposedly, if you believe our history, when there was people that really were experts, professors, and you didn't have access to them like you have access to everybody everywhere now. Like, if you want to learn anything about math, on YouTube, go to Khan Academy. Better than any math teacher could ever teach you, and it's free. Okay? Instantaneous, right? I know many math teachers that they'll watch Khan Academy before they teach their lesson at school because the textbook is, this guy's so much better than the textbook. Again, we need to unindoctrinate our world, and sending kids to indoctrination camp and then putting them in debt to send them to advanced indoctrination camp is the dumbest crap ever.
Yeah, I agree. And I honestly, Crow and Jason and maybe Owen as well have been instrumental into my education too. And I went to a drama school, and I actually was wondering, like, why is it that I'm seeing these in these kind of ways, and a lot of different people who went to more traditional colleges can't understand what's going on. And for me, I always thought it was in this like strange area where how did that happen? Because it was like some dumb like artsy kind of thing, but it was like.
I'm with you. Like, I look at like groups of flat earthers, and like there's all types of people from all different environments. I'm like, how did these people wake up and other people didn't? And I found out that the more highly educated you are and the more higher paying job you have is just harder to get you out.
Well, yeah, because I think it's the appeal to authority, right? And at least what I had was, it was kind of a skill that's very, useless in kind of day-to-day life. But what it did was, there's no right answer here. You take these words, you take this script, you're going to be on stage, and it doesn't matter what someone else tells you. You're either going to look like an idiot or feel like an idiot, or you're going to survive it, right? And I think that's the kind of, you're just going to go with your own convictions, do your own homework, do your own research, and then you're the one that has to either, succeed or fail in that kind of regard. And that's what I kind of attributed it to. And listening to you guys, that's where I kind of really had my breakthrough, because I was going like, these guys are at least just like breaking things down logically, not in terms of what's the teacher going to give me right on the exam. It's more like when you guys did I think it was the 12 hoaxes of Christmas episode, I was like, all of this is just logic. It's just, here's the story we're told. Let's basically reverse engineer that with logic and see if it's true and it adds up. None of them do.
It's unbelievable. It's so unbelievable. Like, my sister, we don't talk because we have nothing to talk about anymore. It's really sad, and it's okay. I'm letting her have her journey, and one day maybe she'll wake up, and then she'll be like, "Oh wow, Dave, you were right about everything." Like I've lost some friends. They're like, I haven't talked to a couple of friends that are literally lifelong friends because I don't believe in the Covidius Maximus. I don't believe in what happened in New York City and those poor people, those poor parents in Sandy. It's like, I'm right about everything. Everything that we said, we've been right about, and it's all been proven, right? It's mind blowing that people can't see it. I think it's because of ego and indoctrination and ego together. Anybody that's listening, I'm assuming most of your listeners are awake, but of course there'll be somebody listening to this go, "What, Sandy? This?" StopLookThink.com. StopLookThink.com. Click the hoaxes menu at the top and click Boston, click Sandy, click whatever you want, and watch the videos there. They used to be on YouTube, but now, they've been removed because they tell the truth. Right. And don't believe anything. Just look. Just look at the evidence. I mean, it's not even a conspiracy theory. I mean, I don't believe in conspiracy theories. So you don't believe that two men could act in secret for their own benefit, two or more could act in secret for their own benefit? I mean, you're retarded.
Well, yeah, it's also going on what's happening in the world right now. And you just kind of go, what part of the conspiracy is a theory anymore and not fact at this point? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, how many people don't know who Klaus Schwab is? All of the normies, they don't even know who he is. I mean, look at him. He looks like Dr. Evil. I mean, he dresses like Dr. Evil. It's like they're telling us he wrote the book, The Great Reset. Okay. How come people can't see it? How come people can't see it?
And I'm also in Canada too. And he's also gone on record saying, "Oh, we have Justin Trudeau and most of his cabinet, essentially in our back pocket." He's gone on record and said that too. It's crazy.
Right. 1720, we had the plague. 1820, cholera. 1920, Spanish flu. All these times, everybody was wearing shame muzzles and getting the thing in the arm. And 2020, it seems like they like their 20s. Right around 20, they start doing this, and I think it is to they want us to believe that there's 7.8 billion people because then we have to depopulate the world. They're paying farmers to not farm, right? Because it's causing global, I don't want to say the word with a W, and because that's not allowed either. You're not allowed to deny GW. And I don't know how people can't see it. I mean, if the population of the United States is what they say it is, every single family could have a half an acre in Texas. Half an acre. Most people don't have a half an acre. Okay? And the rest of the country would be absolutely empty. Okay?
In just Texas. I didn't know that, actually.
Oh, yeah. I think it's every family or every person. Either way. Just Texas. Okay? And that's if the number that they're telling us is real. If you fly across the country, I don't know if I believe that number. Right?
Yeah, and what was there was something that the guy on Chrome was saying that about your ancestors and just doing the basic math of going backwards, like with the population. Do you know much about that? And what was that?
The whole population calculation. There's no way that the population is what they say it is. It doesn't. It would be the population numbers make no sense. Jaron from Jaronism done a few shows on it. I'll just search his channel for population. I think you'll find a video there. But the numbers don't make any sense. But right now, I think that if the number of people that got the jibby jab that say that did that they say, maybe the people are not going to be able to have. Maybe we're going to go into a handmaid tale. What is it called? A handmaid's tale, right? Where no one's fertile. I mean, infertility is off the books right now. It's off the charts. So that's all they need to do, and they've been doing it for decades in Africa, which is
just in general with men in the Western world too, with just low T at this point, right?
Absolutely low T, and Alex Jones, what you think of him? He was screaming they're making the frogs gay, because they're using this pesticide that literally was making male frogs turn into females. Well, we're getting that too. Everyone's getting it. Right, the amount of real men that they don't want real men. They want, fairy men out there that won't do anything, right? And all the people that are fighting for it. Yeah, let's see in times of some serious turmoil, who do you want? Who's got your back?
Which I find,
Good. No, that's it.
I find fascinating too, because about even just the whole kind of workout culture too, because you have a lot of guys that are into that kind of stuff, especially in Canada too. There's a lot of paying attention to your health and whatnot, but apparently not for this thing that just came out over the past 2 years. Just kind of put that in your body with no questions asked. But it's interesting that even the people who are wanting to build themselves up into a bigger, stronger person in the outside has no internal courage to just kind of go, this isn't right. No,
yeah, where are the big guys other than Chris Sky in Canada? Where are the people? Where are these big men? And that's another thing. One of the things is they find all the biggest, strongest men and they give them millions of dollars to play sports. Well, all of these people, they're blinded by their money, as I said earlier. You got a job that's paying you tons of money. You're living very super comfortably. You don't want to screw that up. You've literally sold part of your soul. If you're not following your truth. And that's what I'm doing. I'm following my truth. Getting back to with the whole psyop with nobody should be making money. I didn't know what was going to happen with this app. This app literally could make me $1 billion, okay? Okay? And everybody should be praying that I make $1 billion off of this. Because if I did that, right, you're not going to find a highway worldwide that doesn't have a flat earth billboard on it, right? When we get 1 billion people that download the app, guess what? The entire world will be free, governments will fall, and money will be worthless. Okay? Money will be worthless. So when all of that happens, money's going to be worthless. That's my goal, to make money worthless. Okay? It's almost going to be worthless now, but governments will fall. Okay? And once that happens, freedom can come back to the world. God made us. We made government. They're below us. We're standing on their heads. They think they're standing on our heads. And people agree to it.
Yeah, and I feel like that's more of an American kind of mindset, because in Canada, they just don't understand that, right? I'm sure you saw some of the stuff that happened with the trucker convoy, and whether or not what that is, what they said it was or whatever, there was enough people there saying enough's enough and all that kind of stuff. But it's... a lot of other people in Canada, they just don't understand the government isn't above them. And they truly believe that the government is above them. And they just, whatever they say is what we have to kind of do. And you were talking about athletes. One of my good friends, he's like, I'm just so upset that none of them are talking about this, but obviously they're being paid to be quiet. But at least what I like is I always watched the UFC ever since I was a little kid. And it seems like they're definitely the misfits and the outcasts of most athletes. And I don't know if you know Thug Nasty, Bryce Mitchell, he's going off on all this COVID stuff too. And he was on one of the shows talking about some of the the different Sandy and Las Vegas and all those kind of different places, and saying hey, those are ways for them to try to get your guns away. And he's at least one athlete kind of talking about it. Obviously, he has nowhere near the stardom of
so here's the argument, the other side of the argument to that. When Sandy happened, Obama was in charge, the gun sales were through the roof. Well, Sandy did the opposite of that. It put guns in everyone's hands. I look at it as I don't think Sandy was about taking your guns away. I think it was about putting guns in our hands. Because if they pull the plug, if they're able to, which I'm not sure if they are, if they're able to turn this world into chaos, turn the power off for a month, people will use those guns and kill everybody. Everyone will kill each other, okay? But you should see what happens here in Fairfield County, where I live, when the power goes out for 2 days. People have baseball bats and gas lines, okay? It's insanity, right? And that's just here. I mean, so if the world had some major cyber threat, imagine that, a cyber threat, no predictive programming there. Okay, that's, Um, and people were, trying to survive. I think that there's going to be a lot of crazy people doing a lot of crazy things, and that's another thing that they programmed it into us over the years since Sandy is mass, bang bang events. That's not something anybody really does, but now they've programmed us into thinking that's a normal thing. So now you got kids playing, shoot 'em up games. Can't think of their names, but hearing about all these events, well, when they get a little freaked out and what's going on, they might think to actually do something like that. We only do, there's nothing new under the sun. So they're trying to create something new under the sun. They're trying to create mass bang bang events.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into exactly what we're talking about with this stuff. Yeah, if you have, I think the battle right now is for energy and for attention, right? No matter what, I was just talking about the convoy up in Canada. I think one of the huge problems with it was that people were placing everything on that, and then you basically all of your energy and all your sort of creative capacity in this world is to fight what you're against, but not to build what you're for.
Right.
There's nothing. There's no creativity to build what you're for. Right.
And that's what Owen constantly talks about. Put your energy where you want it to go. That's the whole thing. They want to control our thoughts. Why do they want to control our thoughts? Because our thoughts create reality, right? They don't want you to know that if you believe in something and allow it to come into your life, it will. Okay? And they don't want you to know that. So they're steering your mind, your thoughts with the news, which is an acronym for North, East, West, South, right? They're steering your mind. You turn on the news and they go, there could be so many great stories about people helping each other and success, and there's no shooting, racism, all just nonsense, right? I watched Wag the Dog last night. I highly recommend everyone, if you haven't seen it since it came out. It's literally about a president who is a pedophile, and they start a war to hide the fact that he molested a child. Sound like anyone you know?
Yep. Yeah, I mean it's all that kind of thing, right? It's like yeah, I guess people don't understand what the title means. It's like does the dog wag its tail, or does the tail wag the dog, right? And this is the thing that people don't understand too, is like, do you believe in the conversation we're having now? Do you believe in the globe because that's what you believe, or is it because it's what you've been taught since you were young? Right?
With no proof. No one ever gave proof. The only proof you have a globe is there was one in the front of your kindergarten class, and the teacher told you live there.
Right.
Do you remember the worksheet that you were given as a kindergartner or first grader about the orbits of the sun, moon, and the the planets? It was like literally, it was a work. I can still see it. I probably still can see it because I've seen kids that have still get the same worksheet. But you have to say, the moon goes around the earth goes around the sun, we're the third one from the sun. I mean, literally, that's one of the major worksheets that every kid gets. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. And then when you get it right, you feel so accomplished and you're so smart.
Right. And that's the indoctrination of listen to the authority tells you what to say. And that's where you have people totally disregarding all of their logical systems for the past 2 years because, well, they must be telling us the truth because why would they lie?
Yep.
But you were talking about the fact that they teach you this stuff. But then what I found fascinating too one of them is if it is round, there has to be a circumference. And if there is a circumference, there has to be a drop off of which you're talking about. And we've shown you a couple times that that's not the case. It's if you value logic, you can't reconcile those two pieces of information. But one of the other ones was if people are going to these engineering schools and stuff like that, you have people even in flight schools that they don't account for the spin, and no bridge accounts for the curve in their engineering plans. Like, that's huge, is it not?
Absolutely. There's a bridge in China. It's 100 miles long, and there's no accounting for curvature. There should be 6,600 feet of curvature over a mile. And the whole thing with the airplane, the equator, it's spinning 1,000 miles an hour. If you left from like northern Alaska, you're only spinning at like 200 or 300 miles an hour. You fly to the equator, how do you get that sideways speed? If you fly to Ecuador, land on a north-south runway that's moving sideways at 1,000 miles an hour, and people go, well, gravity in the atmosphere. Well, that's the dumbest thing ever. I mean, how can I freely move through the air? How can a summer breeze go left and right, up and down? How is that possible? Right? If the earth shook the tiniest bit right now, you'd be like, whoa, right? If there's just a vibration in the floor, you're like, what's going on? Right? Right? That, and you're supposed to believe that you can't feel 1,000 mile an hour spin. Well, people are like, well, it's moving. Can you see the hour hand on a clock move? And that's going twice the speed. Well, the angular speed it's going. A 24-hour clock, I would argue that you cannot see the hour hand move, right? Because it's moving so slow. But that's the angular speed. It's the linear speed that matters. And it's been proven the linear speed, things would explode at those speeds. It just can't happen. If you were on a merry-go-round that was spinning around once a day and you're sitting on the outside, you'd be like, am I moving? And after an hour, you'd like, yeah, I think I moved a little bit, right? A merry-go-round, 20, 30, 50 feet wide, whatever it is. Now expand that merry-go-round out to 24,000 miles wide, the diameter of the Earth, the circumference of the Earth. And now you're sitting on that outside horse. You're going 1,000 miles an hour, and you're making an angular turn of a mile every 2 minutes. No, faster than that. You're nosediving several miles a minute. Even maybe it's even more than that. Absolute insanity. You can't even fathom this stuff, right? Because at 500 miles an hour, you're dropping a mile every 2 minutes. At 1,000 miles an hour, it's exponentially more than that. I don't care. You can't, water would slosh out, and they tell us, Neil deGrasse tells us that the water bulges at the equator 14 miles high. Nonsense.
Yeah, and I remember, I think it was Jarvin or Jervin? Jarvin.
I'm not sure.
Anyway, I'm kind of messed up now, but he was talking about the difference between a million to a billion to a trillion, and we cannot comprehend that jump from a billion to a trillion in our minds, and they just throw these numbers at it's whatever trillion miles away. And it's like
a trillion miles away. It's a trillion seconds is 31,000 years. I don't believe 31,000 years exists. Okay.
Yeah, at this point.
Okay, 31,000 years is 1 trillion seconds. Right? If you're going 10 miles a second in 31,000 years, you're not even halfway to the closest star. What?
And one of the things about people feeding the homeless or doing these, a lot of bleeding heart liberals with all this sort of stuff, you go, well, why are we paying it for anything? If we can go the max speed that we can go, the closest star or whatever they claim that we can get to is going to take us 32,000 years for us to get to, even if we can freeze our whatever the hell it is. Why are we spending any money worrying about any of that kind of stuff when we could be spending that money on something else? When like everything should be solved on Earth before we start talking about that kind of
absolutely. Absolutely. People starving, absolute insanity. What's going on? Well, what if the Earth dies? Well, Mars is dead. Well, in their stupid, Matrix model, you got to build a dome and like, why don't you just build it in Ethiopia, in the desert, build a dome here. We could build railroad tracks to bring supplies there. There's already air. There's already sun, you can grow everything you need. Why don't we just build these huge, living terrariums here on Earth rather than try to do it in a planet that you have to friggin', terraform. Insanity. And people they just eat it up because they're spinning out of control. They're lost in space. They don't know where they are. They don't know how powerful they are. They don't know that their thoughts create their world, and their world is shit because they have shitty thoughts.
it's a vicious cycle, and it's all I believe it's all sort of premeditated from the people that are benefiting from this too, because if they don't want to talk about global warming and all that kind of stuff, it's like, well, the people who are kind of making that up are the ones that are perpetrating that it's a bad such a bad thing, right? People think that like if they have a plastic bag at their grocery store, they're like contributing to this stuff, when these people are just, yeah.
Do you remember the straw mania?
Yeah,
Straw,
yes.
like straw mania, but then all of a sudden we have all of these plastic coated, toxic, chemical coated face diapers that are all over the place. I can't go outside without seeing one on the ground. Okay. I mean, that kind of, and then all of the restaurants went to plastic silverware and plastic everything, because they can't give you a fork, a real fork. It's like, it's insane how insane the world is. It's incredibly insane, but we have the opportunity now to just say no. Just if everybody would stop being afraid, start waking up people, whatever method you want. You want to use my app to wake them up with the Flat Earth? Great. If you wanted to send them to a website, send them to flatearthdave.com. There's plenty of free resources there. If you don't want wouldn't want to get the app. Do whatever you can to wake people up. Now, by the way, some people, they're not going to wake up. As soon as you recognize that, say, have a nice day. Enjoy your slavery and move on, because there's plenty of people that actually do want to wake up, but just don't know where to look because they're so confused.
Well, I think that's a problem too, is that if your only way to gain knowledge is from the institutions that you believe are the arbiters of knowledge, the thing about severing the tie in that relationship with them is then you go, how the hell do I make up my own mind? I've never done that before, right?
Yeah. People, it's like when I learned what the term entrepreneur was, I'm like, they never taught me that in school. I'm like, become an entrepreneur, 99% of them fail. Well, that's not true. That's not true, right? I have, on the app, let me show you this. On the app, I have the shopping cart button. So let me go back here. And the shopping cart button is basically just flat earth stuff. Like I want to create a marketplace. So I click the shopping cart button, and on here are a few different things that are flat earth related, made by flat earthers. Like, we have awesome salsa made by flat earthers. So if you want some salsa, buy it there. If you want cool t-shirts, or you want to learn about meetups, all sorts of different stuff. You want to buy a Gleason's map or download it for free, all sorts of stuff. So here's the thing I'm throwing out there. If anybody has a flat earth service or product that they want to sell, here's your opportunity. There's hundreds of thousands of people that have the app. There's over 50,000 that are on the friend finder. Come up with whatever product you have. I will put it on the app for free, as long as it's not crap. Okay. And then you'll have access, worldwide access, or you can make it just domestic. And, people can find you and start ordering from you and jumpstart you into a business where you're actually helping people. Because hey, someone's birthday is coming up. I want to give them something flat earth. I'm like, what do I get them? I can get them a t-shirt. Boom. I want a resource there. Awesome stuff. One of them, my girlfriend's, one of her favorite necklaces is this silver pendant that this woman makes. Amazing. Very cool stuff. And it was a great gift, and she wears it all the time, and it has great energy to it. So all sorts of stuff. This guy makes clocks, flat earth clocks. Right? Now, if somebody wants to come up with a better way to make a flat earth clock, or just an insert for a clock that you want to sell people, make that. I'll put it on there also. Whatever you want. I want hundreds of things on there, and I don't charge for it. It's free.
Yeah, and it's the same thing that Owen's doing with his people. And we're seeing this over and over again. And one of the things that they say a lot, which I've been trying to just instill into my brain too, is support what you like, or what you like goes away. And if you constantly, one of the great things was Catherine Austin Fitts talks about, if you want to support your local juicery, or your local, whatever sort of thing you have in your town, but all of your RSPs and your 401ks and all that kind of stuff, all your investments are in all of these mutual funds and all these different things that are supporting, the Walmarts and the Facebooks and all those different companies in the world. It's like you're actively throwing your money away to the people to the small businesses, while you're paying for them to be outpriced and just basically demolished by these people, because your actual investments, which you're never going to touch because they're so important to you, they're actively just going to destroy your life. But that's what you're contributing to.
Yeah, Catherine is great. Been working on her about flat Earth. She doesn't want to hear it. Doesn't want to hear it. Yeah, she don't want to hear it. Sophia, Smallstorm, and I. Sophia is connected to her, so we've been trying. She's just like doesn't want to hear it. She's closed, and okay, she does good work. She's lost in space, so.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of the things I wanted to bring up too, because it was another one that was kind of a nail in the coffin for me, was some of the flight logs that are the emergency landings, and how they just don't make sense on a globe model, because you'd be traveling so far out of your yes, that's exactly
so far out of your way. But they go all the way up here and then all the way back down. It's right because it's right in line. It's right in line there. So the emergency landings, that is great. And we have the book 16 emergency landings that prove flat Earth. So here's one from whoops, let me get rid of that. From Dallas to Beijing, and they went to Calgary. That's right in your neck of the woods. And that's way the hell out of the way, but not on a flat Earth map. It happens to be right in line, right? And here's another one from Chicago to Doha, went to Moscow, right? Moscow's 1,000 miles or so out of the way. Moscow's right in line on a flat Earth. Okay? Dozens of these, right?
Because
here we went to Alaska, right? They could have landed in Hawaii. Emergency happened right about here. Well, that's where Alaska is. Hawaii is all the way out here.
Yeah, that's an intense one, because I could see some people arguing, well, it depends on when they were when they initiated the emergency, and then it could be like the closest thing, because the one in Calgary is like there's 2 provinces before you even hit or sorry, one province. You know what I mean? There's so many other places you could have landed.
Every one of them, if you draw a line from the origin to the destination, landed right on that line or very close to that line. And there's no other way to explain it other than they're lying about where they are. I was going to make a good point and I lost it.
It just seems like there's so many of these. Like for me, I think Owen said that the big one for him was the lighthouse and the light that you could see over the horizon too. But that has to do with the 8 inches per mile squared. Right.
Well, there's so many of them, and when we look at these, people, well, that's a mirage, right? And so if we look at like Mount Canigou, you've seen that, right?
I'm not sure.
So Mount Canigou, this is Illusia, France. This is a viewing spot in Illusia, France. And out here is Mount Canigou, but you can't see it. It's 175 miles, 175 miles away or 185 miles away. And according to globe math, from this elevation at that distance, the top of the mountain should be a mile below the curvature, right? So the light, so either it's over the curvature because you live on a ball, which is required if you live on a ball, or on a flat Earth, it could be too small to see, or the light that's bouncing off of it can't push through the atmosphere. However, the sun is a stronger light, and twice a year when the sun's migrating in between the tropics, it lines up with the viewing spot and Mount Canigou, and as it goes beyond it, you can now see Mount Canigou at the very top right there should be a mile below the curve, but it's not. It's right there. And they say, the Globers say, well, the sun already set, and the mountain is a mile below, the top of the mountain is a mile below the curvature. It's just refracting up and stopping at ground level. And that's when I go, cool story, bro.
Right. Yeah. Well, the refraction thing is an interesting one, because I think it was your channel too, talking about the people who were on the mountaintop, and was it the clouds were above the mountain, and the reflection when it was setting was inverting the do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know you're talking about the favorite argument of Globers is that some mountains will cast, when the sun's setting, will cast a shadow up onto the clouds, and that's impossible on a flat Earth, right? But is that what you're talking about?
Yes, yes.
So if you hit the web button, and on the left right here, it says debunking the debunkers, and you click that, and we scroll down, and you'll see a series of videos right here made by P-Brain and some others about Mount Rainier, and he explains what you're seeing. And it's literally, it's not a shadow going up. And it's not the mountain sticking through. You have to watch it because he explains it. He shows you, and then he shows you the visual evidence. There's never been a photograph from the top of a mountain of a cloud, of the shadow going up to a cloud. It's always below the top of the mountain.
Right. Yeah.
And in the series of videos, he destroys that entire argument. So whenever you see these hit pieces that end up in the top of the search results when you type anything flat Earth, they're in there under the debunking the debunkers, and they, excuse me, they're explained away. They're explained away thoroughly.
Yeah, and one of the things, just the mountain stuff really kind of fascinates me because you obviously there's a higher perspective. You can get a lot of different information there. And one of the ones that was so compelling to me was that some of the videos that you see of time lapses of some of the mountaintop, I guess, videos was it literally looks like the sun is climbing its way towards you and getting bigger when you're at that huge elevation, which again doesn't make any sense if you. And another thing, so I literally getting ready for this too. Last week I was driving and I was saying to my to my friend there who I don't want to oust, but it was a cloudy day, cloudy morning, but there was holes in the clouds, right? And the sun was just, you could see the sun kind of coming through, and the clouds were obviously obfuscating a bit of the sun, but the rays were coming through. But the rays were coming through at different angles from where the sun apparently was. And I kind of looked at him. I said, if that's true, exactly that like we were watching that happen in real time. We were driving towards one of the work sites we were going to, and it's like, how is that explained? And it was maybe that he's like, I don't want to say it, but maybe it's the whole idea that if it's curved, then the sun and like, you know, the atmosphere, if it's curved on a ball, then it means that it's, do you know what I mean? So
yeah, they make up excuses like that all the time. No one has ever seen parallel rays come into Earth, ever. Never. And it's because, you know, do a little geometry. The sun is, you know, right there. But wait a minute. How can the sun just be above the clouds? Because that's kind of saying where it's at. It's not much higher than those clouds. And that's true. And airplanes fly much higher than the clouds. So what's up with that? We all see the sun my belief is that we see the sun in a position relative to ourselves. So I look at the sky. I believe that the sun that we see is a reflection or a projection of the actual sun, which is above it. And Crow talks about it with the spirit sun, and they filmed it with special lenses on certain type of telescope. And the reason you can't see it most of the time is because the sun's too bright. But during an eclipse, when the sun is weakened, you can sometimes see the projector of what you're seeing. That's what I call it. So I did a little experiment. This is a sheet hanging. On the other side, I have a flashlight 10 feet away. Kind of looks just like a sun, doesn't it? Pretty good on my first try. And I said to my girlfriend, I said, where do you see the sun? And she points right there. I'm like, wait a minute. I see the sun over here. I move over. That's where she sees the sun, right? At the same time, when I'm over here, I see the sun right there. So are we looking at the same sun? Or are we looking at it in two different positions? Right? So that's interesting. But whenever we send a balloon up, the sun is always never above the balloon. Like we're at 120,000 feet here. The sun kind of looks like it's right there. Also, there's a little hot spot too. And then I try to imagine myself on the ground. Do I see the sun that high? I don't think so. As you go up, the sun goes up. But as you go up higher and higher, the sun kind of stops going away. Like when you're driving down the road and the moon or the sun is following you in the car, it really is because you're seeing it in a different position.
Does that not go right back to again, like the all is mine too? You know, it's your perspective is everything.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. Even just like the thought experiments you could have with just changing your perspective in this way is just such more of a fun kind of idea, right? Is just having the conversation. You're talking about the friends that have kind of written you off, just like, yeah, but the conversation can be so much more fun. It's like, what do you think the sun actually is? You know?
You know, I tell the story where I was in Las Vegas at a conference, and I'm sitting poolside at 3:30 in the afternoon, and the sun was like 45 degrees off the horizon, and it was frying the right side of my face as I was eating something. I had some sitting there on a chair having some food, and I was like, I should go to the other side of the pool so I don't look like an Oreo, like a black and white cookie, you know? And moments later, the sun was reflecting off of the hotel, which was far off to my left, which had giant mirrored sections on it. And I looked at it, it looked just like the sun, of course, because it's a mirror. But then the heat that was coming off of that reflection was intense. And I closed my eyes and I said, if I didn't know which one was the real sun, if that's a thing, could I tell the difference? And I couldn't. So the sun looked and felt the same off of a mirrored reflection. Maybe we're seeing a mirrored reflection over there too.
And that goes into the whole second sun idea too, right? The reflective from the look at what you've shown there too about like if it is, you know, the flat with the Antarctica around and then a dome, and if you shine a light through it, as you kind of shine a light out of the opposite side. I don't know, yeah, if you have a video of that one, which is very logical too, right?
Yeah. And here's I got a video of this is a glass dome on a rug, and I'm just running a light across, and you watch the sun will rise. And those in person, I encourage people to do this. Just get one of these domes, you know, paperweight, and then run a light. The light literally looks like a round sun. It looks just like a sun. And watch, it never goes below. It just fades out. And then so I'm going to come back. All of a sudden, the sun will appear on the horizon because you're in the center of this. It's going to rise over you. It's noon. And then it's going to go away. And what people don't realize is the sun does travel about 15 degrees per hour, but it's the last hour and the first hour of the day that it goes at a different speed. Okay? It literally slows down and just sits there. You've seen the sun fade out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'll show you that, and then we'll kind of wrap it up, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So this is me filming the sun with a drone, below freezing, no humidity, super clear day. And the sun went, in 5 minutes time, went down, 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 down. Now, if we're spinning, it should keep going. It should never slow down. It should always be the same, but it's not. It went down, 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 down. It stopped, and it sat here for 10 minutes. This is super sped up. It just sat here, and it didn't go down anymore. My friends already saw it set at the beach 10 minutes earlier from the bottom up. But I'm still looking at the sun, and then it couldn't push through anymore. And it takes its light with it. It goes away. When I came out with this video, and I filmed it 7 different times, the trolls went berserk, saying that I photoshopped it, it's fake. And I showed the raw footage, I've live streamed it, I've done everything, right? Zulu One, another flat earther, he filmed it at ground level just recently in Florida. It was amazing. But you have to have a super, super clear day. And the lower you are, the more thick the atmosphere gets, especially over water. But the conditions were right, and you could see it.
It's all fascinating stuff. And that's what I was trying to say at the beginning too, where I think the technology that we can each have in our own hands is going to just completely outperform the lie of which they're trying to just tell you, essentially a lie about where you are, right? And like you said about the Nikon, the P900 or something.
P900 or P1000. You can zoom in. It's the globe buster.
Is this the same idea?
No, this is just another one. This is filmed. I'm not sure where this was, but are you falling over? Is the cameraman falling over backwards faster than the speed of sound, or is the sun just going away as it appears and taking its light with it?
Yeah, it's fast, and you can kind of see there that it drastically goes down in size very quickly too, right?
Well, sometimes it goes down in size. Sometimes it gets bigger. Sometimes, when you see the moon rise, a full moon, it's gigantic, right? It's not gigantic. It's the same size. Depending on the atmosphere, sometimes it could be magnified a little bit, but it's the same size as when the moon's above you. And you're like, wait a minute, it's gigantic at the equator. I mean, at the horizon. Take a picture of it. You look at the picture, like, what the frig happened? The moon is tiny, right? This was the one that people have a hard time with. Next time you see a full moon on the horizon, and it's gigantic, turn your back to the moon, bend over and look at the moon through your legs upside down. Sound crazy? Okay? It'll be tiny. Your brain short circuits. Your brain is literally trying, think of what's going on. Your eyes are seeing these photons coming in. I'm looking out. I see trees. I see leaves. I see all the stuff. I'm interpreting all of this color and shape and texture and heat waves. And I could see all of that's going on. Your brain is trying to make sense of this world. And when it's down near the horizon, you see it one way, but when you turn around upside down, it's like if you're sitting on a chair, lift your foot off the ground and make a clockwise circle. Try it right now. Try it.
Oh, right.
And then draw an S. Draw an S with your hand in the air, and your foot will change directions. Okay, it's your brain short circuits. It's similar to that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it goes back into the interplay between the reality that you're seeing and your mind's interpretation and all that kind of stuff too, right? This is what I mean by this information. It's like endlessly fascinating. And I think when you first initiate into this whole concept, there's so much pushback because, like you said, your ego needs to sort of stay intact somehow. But then you just start having all these very interesting ways of interpreting the world. And you start going, I was going to say with the, like the Hermetic principles and Dylan Scoccio's work breaking down religions and how many solar religions are there. And it's all like the fascination between what the heck this place is and what this thing is that we're looking at here, just trying to figure out what it does and how is our relationship with it.
Amazing. So how long have you been a flat earther?
Well, I think honestly, not like, in terms of actually taking it on board, and like I was talking about earlier with the whole thing with Owen, when the world was in a more normal place before CV-19, I was like, interested in the concept. Once that thing hit off, I was like, no, this is actually legitimate because this is like the way that there's the way to control your mind. So I'd say over the past 2 years, I've been very, very kind of more vocal about it than I'd ever kind of admitted to friends and family.
So has there ever been a time or a moment in your life, anytime before that you've been bored?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay. Since you discovered that the earth is flat, have you had 1 minute of boredom?
Honestly, no. Everything
yes.
Yeah.
Right. So I look at that as if you're bored, you're actually, what's the word I'm looking for? You're actually being disrespecting God's creation. You really are. Because if you're bored, you are wasting your life. Mm-hmm. You're wasting your life. Okay? And that's why they try to entertain you, with movies and stuff. I watch a movie now and then as research, as I see it to break the matrix. I don't get sucked into the matrix. I literally, the movie I watched last night, I can't remember the last time I watched a movie before that. It's been months and months. Whatever. But there's so much to learn, so much to share. I think that the people in the 1800s probably used a lot less words than we use now. I think they had an intuition and they're literally connected to each other.
Yeah. So, okay. I want to be mindful of your time because you said you got another one coming up here soon, another interview. When I usually try to end these on some of these positive notes, and I think this whole episode has been something that's very uplifting for a lot of people. If someone wants to find some sort of empowerment solutions in their life and take control and feel courage at this time that I think a lot of people are maybe confused and all that kind of stuff, what is something that they can actively do in their life to take some control in their life, find the courage, find the bravery to either speak out if they do believe this stuff and take the slings and arrows from their friends and family and stuff like that? What do you suggest?
Well, that's a great question. and again, it's not about believing, it's about knowing. And so, people believe they live on a spinning ball, but they can't tell you why. Well, that's just a stupid belief. We know that we don't live on a ball. We know that we live on a stationary level plane. And once you realize that you're at the center of creation, once you realize that this incarnation is only just a little piece of the story, and there's nothing that could really go wrong, and you become unafraid of death. And when you're unafraid of death, there's really nothing else to be afraid of. The only real quote I've ever heard from a president is nothing to fear except fear itself. Okay? And that's the truth. Fear is false evidence appearing real. So if you focus on fearful things, you're just bringing that into your life. If you focus on fearful things, you are attracting that with the great attractor, which is your brain, which is your soul, which is, your consciousness. You're attracting that into your life. So get rid of fear, live your truth, find your passion, and do whatever you can do, to surround yourself with like-minded people. On the app, the Friend Finder is amazing way to find people near you, right? Every single person. Have you used the Friend Finder at all?
I haven't. No, not yet. No.
So on the app, if you hit the little handshake button, up comes a map, and it'll show you all of the other app users that have registered on the Friend Finder near you. So these are all the people that are just near me, right? And that circle is 50 kilometers. And in that 50 kilometers, I have 304 people. I could send them a group message. I am going to send one soon saying April 2nd, we're having a meetup in New York, just on the edge of Long Island, and check it out. You can also find that information at Flat Earth Festivals, at the button in the shopping cart on the app. So anybody that's listening to this, April 2nd, we have a meetup. It's like from 12 to whenever. It's at a Mexican restaurant. It's going to be fun. And then you can also tap on any of those dots, and you can pull up the person's name. And if they had a profile, the profile would be not grayed out. And you could see who they are, and you can message them. People are using it to find jobs, to hire people. Like if I needed somebody to do some work, I'd rather hire a flat earther. I could tap on some people that have profiles and say, oh, this person looks good, message them. Or maybe I just send out a group message to 10 kilometers. Like, hey, looking for some people, hit me up at this email. Bam. Because flat earthers only want to work for flat earthers, and flat earthers only want to hire flat earthers. So people used to say the big joke in 2015, 16 was, oh, you're a flat earther, you're never going to get a job. You're going to live in your mother's basement. Guess what? You're never going to get a job because flat earthers are going to be everywhere, and we're only going to hire other flat earthers. Okay. So I am changing this soon, so you will be able to tell who has a profile, so you don't have to, you can click on it and go, oh, that person doesn't, that person doesn't. There's going to be a little profile icon. So that's coming out soon. But the app is the best way to meet people. People are already getting married because of this, right? People have found, like I was on a show the other day, and the guy's like, yeah, my girlfriend, we met on the app. It's amazing. And here's the thing. If you're looking for love, you're looking for friendship, if you're looking for a job, every single one of these dots is more matched to what you're looking for than any dating site or job site will ever find for you. Okay? Because these are the people that are your people. They're the people that can see through the nonsense. These are the people. The job, like if I needed to hire somebody, any one of these people are going to be good that wants a job. And then I could teach them how to do the job. That's the easy part. It's what kind of person are you? Where are you? Well, the location is, I already got my location. Do you see the world for what it is? I forgot to put it on Do Not Disturb. It's amazing. And then if you look around worldwide, I'll switch to the other map real quick. There's people everywhere. Look at the UK. You can't even see it anymore. Right?
It's awesome to kind of do this because people don't think there's this many. I'm fascinated actually, and like pretty astonished that there's this many.
We just hit 50,000 people. Okay, just the other day. I'm saying within a couple of months we're going to be at 100,000 people, and then a couple more. The doubling is every 3 or 4 months, maybe, and I think the doubling is going to increase in speed. Okay, it's going to be insane. And here's the thing: we want critical mass. Oh, Dave's just after his money. Listen, don't buy the app. don't buy the app and do whatever you want. I don't care. Right? It's not about that. It's about waking people up. Wouldn't it be great to have a multi-millionaire flat earther that could afford to fund some experiments, that could afford to send people to Antarctica, could afford to do whatever, right? That would be fun. But with the mentality that people have, it's absolute insanity. So if we go down to Australia, look at Australia. Australia's taken off, right? They're having some hard troubles down there right now with the weather and what's going on, but pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's similar to what I think happened, at least in this country here with the trucker convoy. It was like, at least you saw enough people who are saying enough's enough, which gave people the courage to speak it out themselves. And like I'm saying, it's kind of crazy looking at this and going, there's way more people than I thought that were like that. And then it's like, okay, well, maybe I can look at this and it isn't so crazy if there's this many people.
Right. That's another thing. When you're talking to someone about flat Earth, break out the app and show them this. Pull it up. And if you click on this right here, it takes a while because when you load this, you have to load all the data for all of this. So it's a little clunky and you can't zoom out as far. But if you want to look around the world, just click the number here, and up comes the whole map without personal data in it. And then you can just zoom around and zoom in, and it's pretty wild. It's going to be crazy where you're not even going to be able to see the map. Okay, that's the goal.
Yeah.
Well,
that's great, Dave. I just want to say one thing about what you're talking about there too, and I think it's so important, which is if you have a solid foundation in your belief of who you are and where you are. Like I said, when we opened this up with this, why should anyone care about this? Is there was like the Nordic warriors back in the day wanted to die in battle to be with Odin in Valhalla. You had people who were warriors of God saying, I'm not afraid. I actually want to die on my convictions so that I can be rewarded by my creator. And I think that's hugely important too.
I have no fear of death because I know that I'm doing everything that I can to help humanity see the creation and live their best life. I've never been happier. The life is phenomenal. And the anti-flat earthers out there, I really feel sorry for them because they're literally living in hell. And I think when it comes time for them to meet their creator, it's not going to be a pretty sight. Wouldn't mind seeing it if you ask, maybe if you could put it on pay-per-view, I'd pay for that.
All right, Coach. So one last time, where can people go to find the app, find you, find out any information?
Easiest place, flatearthdave.com. You got my interviews channels there. You got my short videos, DITRH channel. Subscribe to that. It's fun. All my videos, like 5-minute video, people are like, oh, Dave, a documentary. I try to keep them short. And there's also, I have there, it's a Flat Earth Crash Course. Basically, it's the same playlist that's in the app. So if someone doesn't have the app, you just send them the playlist. And if they watch that playlist, they're toast. There's no way you can watch the first 3 movies in that playlist and not lose the respect of your family and friends. FlatEarthDave.com, everything's there, including the links to the app. If you're having the app is so many different phones out there. If you're having an issue on your app, FlatEarthDave.com, click the support button, and someone will get back to you pretty quickly. Okay, support, explain your problem, list the phone, make a model, operating system. And usually it's an easy fix. But the app's just getting better and better. I'm adding new things to it. I'm going to add a Flat Earth game to it. It's going to be fun. And it's a one-time cost, $3. But if you want to be able to use the weather app, which is great, send messages on the Friend Finder. You can receive them, but send messages or fill out a profile or view profiles. You have to be a subscriber. It's $11 a year. Okay? $11 a year. Not a bank breaker, but there you go.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I want to thank you so much for your time, Dave. I had a blast here too. Honestly, this is one of my favorite ones that I've had. Just kind of.
Oh, thanks, man.
Shooting the breeze and being able to kind of dive into some of these things. So
nothing's more fun than talking about flat Earth, right? Really, it really is fun talking about the place that you live, right? The deception that we have, and once you get over the hurt of being lied to your whole life, life only gets better.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I hope there's a good reception to this one. I'll let you know when everything's kind of live. I'll put all the links in the description as well, and hopefully we can get you back on here. There's good reception, and we can go into more detailed analysis as to where we are going from here. And yeah, I want to thank you very much for your time, and hopefully we'll talk to you again.
All right, man. Thanks. See ya.
All right.